right, we are live. Welcome back to the Chakra Chat series. Most of you in the chat box are already sharing where you're tuning in from. If you haven't done that already, please share where you are tuning in from. I am right now in Greenville, South Carolina. My parents just moved here about a year ago. So this is my first time visiting, and Myers and I are stateside for the first time in an entire year. So we haven't really ventured out yet. It's always interesting when we come back from sailing and jump into the first world. It's a little jarring, overwhelming. But yeah, we're really excited to be here, really excited to spend time with our family, really excited to enjoy the washer and dryer that's down below. I've been doing loads and loads of laundry, and right now my mom's helping fold my last load. So yes, please share in the comments where you are tuning in from. And I also want to ask you, right? So we're entering the last month of a year, and we're entering the last month of a decade, right? So an entire decade is ending. We also just experienced a full moon. So we just had a full moon this past week on December 12th at 12:12 a.m., which was very cool. And I was actually in Mexico leading our manifestation chakra yoga retreat, and we did a bonfire by the beach. And we identified things that we want to forgive, things that don't sit too well with ourselves, that we want to forgive ourselves for, as well as forgive others for, and also honor all of our achievements and accomplishments from the past year and the past decade. And then we burned all of that in a fire, a ceremonial fire. So if you didn't get to celebrate the full moon or have any kind of special ritual or ceremony, there's still time. You can absolutely use the energy that's swirling around to do that. You don't necessarily need the fullest moon, but it's still pretty full in the sky. So I want to recommend this evening or sometime this week, if you could journal about your accomplishments, your achievements, and also what you want to forgive and let go and release, that this is a good time to do that, okay? Also, I want to say we just got back from Mexico yesterday, and we were leading our largest retreat group yet through the chakra system. And we were doing the manifestation current, which is what we'll be talking about in January, what we'll be revealing to you. And it was really cool to gather with 30 different people. And I mean like very different people, totally different ages, different backgrounds, different experiences happening. Everyone had a different dream that they wanted to use the chakra system to help them create and achieve that dream. But what was the common thread, and this is why I love the chakra system, is that at each energetic center, as we illuminated these different qualities and characteristics and pillars, and all of us shared at each energetic center, there was this thread of commonality, of universality, of humanness, right? Of humanity, and that we are all so connected and tethered by what's going on in here. All of these limiting beliefs and things that are holding us back from living our journey, from feeling whole. I think what I want to just reiterate to you that I relearned on this retreat is we are all going through something, and it's all actually very similar. So this busy season during the holiday, and especially since we're talking about the heart, if we can try and focus on being less judgmental, that's something I'm working with right in this moment, and practicing more compassion towards ourselves and others, I think we'll get through the end of this month and the end of this year. Yeah. So hello, everyone. Hello. Okay. So all of you are sharing with me. Hi, Amy, where you're tuning in from. If you could tell me in the comments, like right now in this final month of this year and of this decade, where are you at with your heart on a scale of 1 to 5? 5 being, I feel very open. I'm not being a total Judge Judy. I'm not being upset with myself and closing down on myself. I'm not judging myself. That's a 5, right? So this open heart. And 1 being, I feel really closed right now. Like I feel very closed, very armored, very shut down. So tell me on a level of 1 to 5 where you're sitting at right now, knowing that it always swings, depending upon our personal experiences. Okay, Mary, -18. Thank you for being so honest. I love that. Kelly, 3, but more open. But you're more open when you're vulnerable, when you feel. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I find that on our retreats, everyone comes in and they're like a little nervous, a little bit closed off. And by the end, like the heart chakra is busted open so wide. Yeah, so please keep sharing. Where are you sitting at on a level of 1 to 5 with your heart right now? 1 being like, I feel very closed, very armored, very shut down, and then very like safeguarded. And 5 being, I feel very open. Like I'm not finding myself in that loop or that pattern of stuck energy of judging myself and others. I'm able to give myself self-care and self-love without any guilt overlaying that. So keep sharing in the comments. And today we're focusing on the heart and throat chakra. So this class, this lecture is going to definitely go until 4 p.m. We'll be here for an entire hour. Please make sure you have a notebook. Please make sure you're comfortable, you've got water nearby, and you're ready to listen and digest the material. Okay? Amy said she's a 5 after that amazing retreat in Mexico. Hoping you can keep that way in my real life. And yes, lastly, before we dive into the content, we have another retreat just like Mexico. So it's creating and achieving your dreams using the manifestation current of the chakra system in Costa Rica, March 1st through the 7th. We have 2 spots left. So 2 spots left in a double room. And you can click the link in the description below to learn more about it. All right. So let's dive in and start with the basics. Okay, let's first start with the heart. So you can feel free to rest your hands here at your heart chakra, Anahata. Anahata is the Sanskrit name for it. And the location is the entire chest region. So not only is it the heart, but it's also this entire upper chest. It's the shoulders, right? And it's also wrapping around the sides, so the ribs and the lungs, all the way to the back too, okay? So it's this whole upper body, mid back, upper chest, and you can think of it as this big circumference. That whole real estate is your heart chakra area. And even your arms, so your upper extremities, your arms, and down to your hands as well. So all of this is heart chakra space. And the element here is air. Okay, just as a recap, we had root chakra earth, sacral chakra water, solar plexus chakra fire, and now we're at the heart chakra air. Okay, the color is green. And I always think about nature and how soothing and calming and just how harmonious nature is. And so that color of green is how I remember that the heart chakra color is also green. The activity here is connecting, which makes sense. It's our heart center. The identification to self is self-acceptance. So really big one, self-acceptance. The demon here is grief or the wound. And this is your right love, be love. And the purpose is cultivating love, right? Love for ourselves and others, and also our relationships. So those are the 2 main purposes of the heart chakra, love and relationships. But then the goals are cultivating self-love and self-acceptance, compassion for others and being able to love others, healthy, sustainable, enriching relationships, the ability to co-create and work with others productively, right? Our quality of breath, and being of service to the world somehow in some way. So always remembering that we want to loop it back to how can we help in some way. So let's move into the throat chakra. Okay, so that was the heart chakra basics, and I'll kind of be just going back and forth with each energetic center. And if along the way you have any questions, please drop them in the comments and I will be able to kind of keep track and see your questions. So now you could bring your hands to clasp around your throat. This is the throat chakra. The Sanskrit term is vissudha, and it's the entire throat region. So throat, neck, right? The jaw, the mouth where we speak, and the ears where we listen. The element here is sound, which makes sense because we're speaking, we're communicating. It's a vibratory experience. So sound is the element here. The color is blue, and the activity is speaking, which makes sense. The identification to self is self-expression, so the ability to express ourselves through communication. The demon here, or the wound, is lies, so not living our truth. The purpose is communication. And the goals here are clarity, clearness, right? So clearness through our speech, resonance, so people relating to us through our expression, being able to create, not necessarily be creative, but being able to create through our communication, listening to others, as well as our subtle body, our energy, and using sound as a purifying tool, right? So singing, chanting, using those as purification tools. And lastly, speaking and living our truths. There's a lot happening at the throat chakra. Yeah. So tell me, like, how do you feel about your throat? Because I asked you on a level of 1 to 5 how you feel about your heart, but how do you feel about your throat chakra? Level 1, or is thinking like, I feel very closed off here, I feel very timid, it's hard for me to openly and authentically share how I'm feeling and what I want to express. Or 5, I feel very confident in what I want to share, I have a message that I want to share, a story I want to communicate, and I believe that it matters, and I give myself permission to create. So let's see here. Lara, you said throat is very close for me. Yes, that is always when we're working on with you, Lara. Kelly, I have no tolerance lately to be around people who are lying to me. I feel like I want to get away from them rather than react. Yeah. Well, no, I don't think that's, I wonder if this is because of my throat chakra work. Yeah, I mean, we're always trying to be proactive and not reactive, right? My mom and older sister were on retreat with me this past week, and having your family at your job definitely shows you your weak spots and your blind spots of where you need to do more work. I saw a meme somewhere on Instagram that was like, think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. That was true for me this week, although I absolutely love them. Okay, so let's see. Angela, interesting. You said 5 with my husband, but 1 with others. Okay. Shannon said 3, learning to communicate my truth, and 3, learning to communicate. Grace, I'm about a 3. You're working on giving yourself more room to be creative and communicate myself to others. Great. Linda, learning to express yourself better. Deshawn, you said I'm a hospice social worker and advocate for my heart and throat. Yeah, my mom was a hospice social worker. Very cool. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing. Let's dive into the pillars of the heart. And again, if you feel like you want to rest your hands at your heart throughout this piece of the conversation of the lecture, so you can just kind of connect here and feel this energy that's sitting here at the heart chakra, go for it. Let me lastly read one more. Okay, Dawn, you said I end up worried, and you end up worried and reacted when you speak without thinking. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that as well. So please answer in the comments where you're at 1 to 5 with your throat chakra, because it's going to feel good, right? Like typing and communicating and participating in this conversation is a throat chakra skill. So you're exercising your ability to communicate by participating in this conversation, right? And you don't need to wait for me to cue you. If you feel like you need to express yourself in some way, or you have something you want to share, that's what this live chat feature is for. And it's perfect for today's conversation. So awareness at the heart, Anahata. The interesting thing about the heart chakra is it's thought of as the integrator, or the bridge, or the connector of the system. It's got 3 chakras below it and 3 chakras above it. And if you look at the 3 chakras below it, which are the ones we've already covered, they are more physical, they're more tangible, they're definitely emotional. So we're looking at more of our primal human nature, our physical nature here in the world, okay? If you look above the heart chakra, you've got throat, you've got third eye, and you have crown chakra. So the energy is getting subtler and subtler, finer and finer, more and more delicate. It's becoming harder to actualize or touch. There's really no exacting nature to it. You absolutely can't see it. It's harder to really conceptualize it. So we're getting higher and higher, and the energy is getting finer and finer. So this is your more mental, spiritual energy up here, where your physical and emotional energy is down below. And the heart sits right in the middle of those six. Okay, so you can think of the heart chakra as the integrator, the connector, or the bridge, which makes sense because if the heart chakra is closed, right? If like we can't love ourselves and we can't love others and we can't find it within ourselves to express acceptance to us or outwardly show compassion, right? If we just feel that heaviness, how then are we expected to, work with these other energetic centers? It's really difficult when the heart has shut down. So I like think of it as this bridge and how you need to travel across the bridge to get up or climb, like go down. And that bridge is like a toll bridge or a drawbridge. And we always want to be able to walk across it, to travel from one side to the other of the system. So that's an important thing to know about the heart chakra. The next thing to talk about is cultivating this bedrock. So imagine you're laying the foundation down at your heart center, and mixed into the concrete is self-love and self-acceptance. And you guys know this, right? Like you guys know when you unroll your yoga mat and practice yoga and practice pranayama and journal and meditate and eat good food, like all the things that constitute self-love, that then it leads to self-acceptance, right? Self-love equals self-acceptance. We're able to just be like, oh, yes, I accept you because you're doing all of these nourishing things for yourself. When that happens, then I find for me personally, I'm way less of a Judge Judy. I'm not staring at others and just doling out my judgments, usually internally inside, right? I'm much more nicer of a person when I am prioritizing self-love and self-acceptance. So really thinking about here, okay, if I'm going to keep the heart chakra open, how am I going to do that? Well, it's how do we cultivate self-love? And really, self-love for me comes from prioritizing self-care, right? And like, okay, yes, bubble baths, but also like real self-care, which is hard. Self-care is hard. And so self-care equals self-acceptance, which then helps us extend compassion and extend love towards others. So imagining that your self-care practices are mixing the self-love ingredient into the concrete, and then you're able to pour that and feel this huge abundance of self-acceptance, which then, vibrates out towards others through love and compassion. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Let's see here, relationships. So this is your social identity. To recap, your root chakra is your physical identity. Your sacral chakra is your emotional identity. Your solar plexus chakra is your ego identity. And now your heart chakra is your social identity, which that makes sense because it's dealing with relationships. The main purpose of the Anahata Chakra is relationships. So this is your social identity. And remember in the intro, the basics, the activity thing. So it's here that we can begin to examine what relationships are serving me, which ones do I maybe need to gracefully bow out of, which ones are toxic and non-productive or abusive in some ways, and then which ones are the ones I want to, number one, create, and then number two, develop and strengthen and sustain. Which relationships are the most productive to me and my energetic experience? So it's here at the heart chakra that we start to really drill down into who is part of my social group, right? And I know for many of us here, especially we talk about this inside the Body, Mind, Soul Studio, which is my monthly membership community, us feeling pretty alone on this path. Like it's a pretty lonely path to walk. The more and more you get into working with this type of, working with yoga, the energetic system of the chakras, really any of this work, right? I think we start to realize how many of our peers, the connection starts to wane and dwindle, and it's hard to have the conversations we want to have, and we find ourselves stuck in a more surface experience that doesn't feel as good, but it's comfortable, and we don't know how to redirect it or walk away from those people that we're so accustomed to and comfortable with, but we feel like they're not adding to the evolution of our souls, right? Like, I think a lot of us wrestle with this. I know I do. But so this is an opportunity to be like, where are my relationships at? Okay. It's really building an awareness of and then developing wisdom around it. What do I need out of a relationship, out of a partner, out of a friendship, out of maybe a coach or a teacher? What are those qualities that work for me personally? Right. So in the comments, if you can maybe tell me, who is someone that you're in relationship with that really adds to your well-being and to your evolution? For me, it's absolutely my husband. If you've been on retreat, you've seen Myers and I work in tandem. He grounds me, he supports me. I mean, he really is, my counterpart in life, my true soulmate in a way. So if you could share with me in the comments, like, who is that for you? And it doesn't need to be your sexual partner in any way, but I would love to know, who is that person that has those qualities you love and that you really need, right? Laura, you said your husband. Angela, you said your husband. Mary, your immediate family is wonderful. That is amazing. Let's see, my sister, my partner helps, but seriously, I'm so thankful for the Body, Mind, Soul Studio. Me too. If you're not in our monthly membership community, it opens in January, and it is just the most thriving, high vibing group of people that are so supportive and non-judgmental. I am obsessed with those humans and how they treat one another. Okay, husband as well. Husband, your mother, Deidre, that is so amazing to hear. My husband, daughter, sister, niece, fellow artist, partner, daughter, best friend, know her for more than 30 years. That's amazing. Husband, best friend, and siblings. Awesome. Mother and 2 young adult kids. Yeah. So really cool to hear and think about it. And then think about, okay, well, if that person's giving me all of the qualities, or most of the qualities, right, that I need to be a better human being and keep my heart open, most importantly, how can I recreate those qualities in other relationships? And what do I need to bring to the table, right? Like, I notice with me, I act very differently towards my family versus my husband. And it would probably behoove me to bring some of the qualities that I exercise towards my husband and apply them to my family, right? Much more kind, much more patient. Just many of those qualities I see that I give to him, can I bring them over and give them to my family members and friends, right? To evolve our relationships and deepen them. All right. So to recap, so far we've talked about how the heart chakra is the integrator, the connector, or the bridge. We've talked about building a bedrock of self-love and self-acceptance and how that leads to compassion and love for others. We've talked about relationships now, and now let's move to our heart's desires. So this is more dealing with the manifestation current. Remember, we're doing the liberation current, so we're going from root to crown. So the manifestation current is asking you to ask your heart, what do you want? What do you desire? What do you love about my dreams or goals or my wishes? So a lot of times we don't really check in with the heart. We're just like plowing forward momentum. Let's do this. Let's do what society expects of me. Let's do what my family expects of me. Let's just keep following the rules and moving forward and not pause for a moment and be like, okay, well, what does my heart really want? And it's a really key component when we work with the manifestation system using the chakras, that we spend a lot of time here and get real clear on what our hard why is around our dreams. And again, we'll be talking about this in January together. Lastly, your breath. So the final pillar here, because the element is air, anytime we're looking at heart chakra work, number one, we're looking at heart-centered yoga classes and poses, but number two, we're absolutely working with pranayama. So remember, pranayama translates to yogic breathing exercises, and it's the 4th limb within the 8 limbs of yoga system. It was that important thousands and thousands of years ago, and it still is, that the yogis devoted an entire limb within their 8-limb system dedicated to beginning and developing and sustaining yogic breathing exercises with the purpose to extend or expand or stretch your life force energy. So prana in the yogic philosophy world is thought of as your life force energy, your internal vitality. And so let's just think about life and how often that internal vitality is slammed up against, right? I mean, like really slammed up against through all sorts of situations and experiences. And so what happens is, right, as we get slammed up against through everything internally and externally, the heart begins to close. It's just a natural, I find, reaction when we're feeling challenged in so many different ways. So the breath, and the reason why the yogis love it and why I love it, is the breath has an immediate ability to reframe what's happening mentally. And what's happening mentally, right? What's going on in your brain, in your mind, those thought patterns that are on a feedback loop, especially when you're really spiraling down, you're like, I can't get out of here. That is a direct effect or connection to your energetic state, right? Like if you were to stand up right now and do 10 jumping jacks or do 10 breaths of joy or do multiple rounds of Kapalabhati breath, your energetic state would change. And as a result of your energetic state changing, it also influences what's happening here with your mental experience, right? Your thought patterns. And if you use it enough, you can also start to work with your belief system too. But let's just stick with thoughts, right? So if you're sitting here right now, or let's just say, okay, yeah, right now, and you're in this loop of, I didn't get enough done today. I didn't get enough done today. I didn't get enough done today. I wasn't productive enough. I'm not a good human. I am not enough. And like the spiral is just spinning out of control and the stories are becoming more and more elaborate and louder and you're really losing your shit, right? If we can learn to pause and pull out our toolbox of pranayama and use it to change our energetic state, we'll be able to become the witness to the stories that are percolating and swirling within and hopefully change that scenario or situation, right? So the breath and pranayama exercises is a beautiful tool when working with the heart chakra to stay open, okay? So if you have any questions about that, holler at me in the chat box. But tell me, for those of you that practice pranayama, what is your favorite one? Do you like dirga breath, so 3-part breath? Do you like nadi shodhana, alternate nostril breathing? Do you like breath of fire? Do you like breath of joy? Are there other breath patterns that I'm not listing that you really like to incorporate into your breathing? Do you like the chakra breaths that we do sometimes together? Kelly, alternate nostril breathing. Tara, you asked, what is pranayama? It is referred to as yogic breathing exercises, and it's part of the 8 limbs of yoga system. Breath of joy. Yeah, if you don't know breath of joy, it's really, really great. And I could try and back up and show you in a moment what that is. Kapalabhati, Nadi Shodhana, Chanda Bandhana. Kirsten, I've heard of that. I haven't practiced that one. I'm going to have to look that up when we're done. Breath of joy. Never did breath of joy. I bet I'd like that. Yeah, it's a super energizing breath and it's really great to tap into joy at the Heart Chakra Center. Breath of fire, Nadi and breath of fire. Breath of fire makes me feel alive. Yeah. So there's lots of different yogic breathing exercises that we can incorporate. And also it's recommended that if you are going to start doing yogic breathing exercises, that you do them system to acclimate and become used to it, right? So then in a stressful situation, you can turn to it and your body's like, I know this is familiar, this is comfortable, this breath pattern gives me this, it gives me XYZ, and your body immediately takes to it. So a really great recommendation is starting with, in the morning, a few rounds of Kapalabhati and then evening that energy out with 1 to 3 minutes of alternate nostril breathing. Okay. And then midday, if you're feeling like you're in that slump and you don't want to turn to sugar, coffee, or soda, or any of the normal things that you would turn to, you can use Kapalabhati breath, breath of fire, or you can turn to breath of joy. Okay. So those are some recommendations for me that I love doing. Let's see here. Yeah, Doe, lion's breath is really great. Deshaun, I have a few videos on here. I'll link to them in the description below after I can edit this live video, okay? But I do have, and many of my classes also have pranayama included in them and woven into them as well. Okay, so let's keep moving. I want to ask you, which of those 5 pillars feels most misaligned for you, like it needs an energetic tune-up? So number 1, self-love and self-acceptance. Number 2, compassion and love for others. Number 3, your relationships. Number 4, your heart desires. And number 5, your relationship with your breath. So again, I'll list those off. And if you can tell me in the comments, which one do you think you would like to work with? Self-love and self-acceptance, compassion and love for others, relationships, heart's desires, or your breath. So which one are you guys at? All the above. Number 3, number 1, relationships. Number 5, 4. Okay, great. Yeah, keep telling me in the comments which pillar you immediately feel drawn to and like you would like to place some of your energy there. Okay, breath, heart's desires. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Awesome. Relationships, self-love, self-acceptance, self-love, self-acceptance, heart desires. There's a lot of ones coming in, which is self-love and self-acceptance, self-love and self-esteem. Maureen, all of them, but heart's desires. Yeah, self-love and self-acceptance. Yeah, many heart's desires coming through. Great. Okay, so heart's desires, again, that is really focused on in the manifestation current, which we're going to talk about in January together. All right, let's talk about the throat chakra and the pillars here. So again, you can kind of bring your hands to your throat and connect with this energetic center and tune in for a moment as we're talking about them together. So remember, the element here is sound, and one of the goals is purification, and we can experience purification through sound. So ever realize how when you bust out singing in the car or in the shower, how much lighter you feel, how you get a kickback of energy into your system? Or if sometimes, I know for me, if my husband and I are arguing and I just like let it rip, of course, I kind of have like an integrity hangover after. But if I'm feeling like a welling of anger, I'm not someone that suppresses that. I really let it rip. And it is pretty purifying. Of course, then I have to deal with the consequences and we need to then, have a civilized conversation. But being able to use sound, whether it's singing, chanting, speaking, yelling, as a purifying tool. And Anadea's got this really great analogy in her book, Chakra Yoga, that you can imagine your spinal column or your Sushumna Nadi, where the chakras are located, as this guitar string. So think about how on a guitar, the strings are pulled really taut, and how someone who's playing guitar would pluck that string with their thumb or their fingers or a pick. And when they pluck it, it would create a sound, a vibration, or a sound or a vibration, right? So think about your spinal column and how throughout life, every single moment, every single day, your guitar string is being plucked. Because remember, the chakra system is the organizing manager of your day-to-day energy that you're experiencing. And remember, the chakras receive it, they digest it, they store it, and then they express it back out. So remembering that those 4 functions are what's happening and that your chakras are simply organizing managers of that energy, when we think about sound and how often we've been in situations where we haven't allowed ourselves to communicate in a place where we felt like, when your jaw tightens and you're starting to feel like locked up here and your throat is kind of quivering because you feel so inclined to share and speak your truth, but you are afraid to, or it's just inappropriate timing, right? Or maybe you're in an organization and you're lower down the totem pole, and so you feel like you can't speak your truth to upper management, something like that scenario. And so you feel this like lock, right? Like this literal lock. I know I've experienced that. So we can use sound to purify all of that stuck tension that's built here. And so that's a really key element of the throat chakra. And so chanting, which all of the chakras have Bija mantras, the root chakra is Lam. So it goes from the bottom. Lam, Ram, Vam, Yam, Ham, Om. And then the 7th chakra is silence. So we can use Bija mantras whenever we want. We can also sing mantra music. There's tons on Spotify. We can also just sing in general. We can also scream and yell in an appropriate setting to let out anger and built up energy. So we want to use sound as a productive tool here to purify this energetic center, because the goal, remember, is clear communication, clarity. And if we feel like there's all this stuck energy that we haven't been able to express, then it's very hard to be like, I'm going to communicate exactly how I feel and it's going to come out really well, super clear. You're going to totally understand it. It's going to be an effective message, right? And I'm not saying you can't accomplish that without getting this cleared out, but it's super helpful to use the element of sound to do that. So, like, tell me, you guys, how do you feel about that? Like your jaw tightening and your throat maybe quivering and tightening too. Like, can you recall a situation? And Kelly, I know you're on here and you shared a really important situation in your life. You don't have to repeat it here, but it's just an example of, I think there's many times we've been shut down here and we've been made to feel like we aren't allowed to speak, like we don't have a reason or a right to share, to speak and be heard. The right here is to speak and be heard. So this is where we can really lock up. Okay. So just like how a guitar string, it could get picked or strummed, and the quality of sound that comes out actually really sucks. Like it kind of sounds deadened. That's what can happen here if we go like decades and decades of not giving ourselves permission to speak authentically, right? So when we're closing down consistently, or if we're in excess mode and we're always talking, I definitely lean towards excess here with the throat chakra. Like we got to get it out. We got to purify it, right? We got to cleanse it. So, all right, let's see here. Dawn said, oh yeah, work and home every day. Tara, jaw clenches. You have nothing nice to say. Don't say anything at all, but it festers. Yeah, it does fester. So like, let's say you're in a situation and you're operating by that golden rule of you don't have anything nice to say. Don't say anything at all. Like in a private situation or scenario, you can definitely say what you need to say without it affecting others, right? Like you can take a moment to yell and scream and let out what you need to say in a private setting and not let it just build and build and build and get stuck there. All right, Deidre said, when I can't speak my truth because I'm afraid or not ready, I feel it in my chest, like my heart could explode. Exactly, right? So it starts here. The jaw locks, the throat tightens. You could kind of feel that quivering sensation because you have something really important to say, right? But you're feeling like you don't have the permission to say it, and then immediately, whoosh, heart closes, right? It's like a direct link. Absolutely. Good point, Deidre. Thank you for bringing that up. So that's the first pillar of the throat chakra. Using sound as a purifying tool. You can use the Bija mantras, the ones I just said to you, Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Ham, Om. You can also sing, you can chant other chants. There's many, many chants within the yogic system. There's also lots of mantra music on Spotify that you can find that's super beautiful. You could also work with just yelling and screaming if you need to get out resentment and anger. There's many ways that you can use the tools of sound to let go of stuck tension here. Resonance. Okay, so second pillar of the throat chakra, vissudha. Remember, actually, let me take a sip of water while you guys are sharing in the comments your personal experiences with sound. Yeah, I'm reading your things, and I want to say my truth even when I'm angry. Let's see here. I was told once that it's healthy and cleansing to give a good cry and yell out loud. Absolutely, right? I know people on retreat, and me too, when this feels stuck, and I let myself cry, oh my gosh, it's like this huge softening, right? It's this huge exhale. That experience is what we're looking for and how we purify, right? You don't have to cry. Not all of us are criers, but finding a way to get this stuck energy both out from the throat and the heart. And they're absolutely so connected here. Okay, let's see. I have found when I've trusted keeping my mouth closed, some situations have just worked themselves out on their own. Yeah, absolutely. Like every situation's different, right? We don't always need to speak our truth. And it's all like us deciphering what is best for me in this situation, right? Like only you are going to know that. I can't teach you that. Okay, so let's move to the second pillar, resonance. So once we create connection between us and others through communication, right? So right now I'm communicating to you guys, and hopefully I'm doing a good enough job that it's resonating, right? That's what we're trying to do here at the throat chakra. We're trying to calibrate our communication skills well enough that we create resonance, which is the ability to relate to others through our messaging, through our storytelling, through our broadcasting, through our speech. So, this is learning how to speak authentically, learning to speak without inhibition. Yes, like even right now as I'm talking to you, I still have nerves. I'm still like second guessing some of what I say, but I know this system well enough and I trust in you guys in this community that I feel comfortable enough to get on here anyway and speak authentically with you. And I pray that it comes out in the best way possible, that the delivery is that it matters, that it touches you and it creates a positive effect on you, right? This positive ripple effect that hopefully you have more awareness and wisdom around your energy. So resonance is a big deal here. Like once we purify through sound, we can drop into developing better communication skills so that we can feel like, yeah, they're getting it, right? Like they're understanding my message. It's also here that we give ourselves permission to share our story. So again, on retreat, because I just got back from retreat, I'm going to keep referring to it. I love watching the evolution of people sharing. We do many sharing circles, and in the beginning, a lot of people are closed down or they're not sharing as openly or vulnerably or authentically because it's freaking scary, right? Like it's scary, period. So, but then by the end of the week, at the end of the retreat, I always notice this evolution or this blossoming of sharing more authentically, people now believing that their story matters. Like everyone has a story, everyone has a past, and someone is always going to relate to your past in your story because someone else is going to have gone through that. And I think us owning that our stories absolutely connect with someone else's stories and they can have a positive healing effect when we share them. Owning that is what allows us to speak authentically, right? So it's here that we also want to start taking our time. We want to begin just practicing talking, right? And like not holding back. If you feel like you have something important to say that is going to create a positive effect on someone else, whether it's directly in conversation, through email, through a phone call, or on social media, give yourself permission to say it, okay? Which leads me directly into that the identification to self here is self expression. So it's giving yourself the permission to create through communication. So once you're like, okay, I'm using sound to purify, I'm developing my communication skills so that I can resonate with others. Now I can express myself freely, right? I can begin to create through my voice. Creation starts here, right? It starts through messaging. That's how you see all marketing and advertising brought to you through messaging, through speech, through communication. So that is the next pillar, expression and creation. And this is also a really big piece of the manifestation current and creating and achieving your dreams, which again, we'll talk about in January. And I can't wait to start that journey too. But let's stay here in the present moment. Lastly, the final pillar is listening. So listen, no pun intended. We can always fine tune and improve our listening skills. I find through leading retreats and having to listen to people and be very present because they've paid a lot of money to be there with me and with others, I have to absolutely be present and listen to their story because I want to be able to talk back and say, I hear you, I see you, I feel you, I understand you. This is what you just said to me. I am listening. I am here with you in the moment, right? Everyone wants to feel like they've been heard, especially in a retreat environment and setting. And so it's my job to listen, but it's also all of our jobs to listen in our relationships, in our family settings, in our co-working, in our working situations, right? And I'm so guilty of my husband starting to talk to me and me just like immediately like glaze over. Like if he starts a conversation with me and I'm not interested, yeah, like I'm definitely guilty of tuning out and going within and then being like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Are you listening to me? Uh-huh, right? Like how many of us do that? So, active listening versus passive listening. And when we develop that skill, it also makes us better communicators because we're in the moment, right? We're really here, we're really present, we're in the here and now. So, we're hearing what people are saying, we're picking up on their body language, we're reading their emotional state, right? We're not just like inside going through our checklist or our to-dos or what happened earlier or what's going to happen later. We're really here in the moment with them. And that helps us better communicate. The other piece to listening with the throat chakra is listening within, right? So listening to our energetic system. This is another cool part of the manifestation current. We work with our dreams, but you can do it right now, right? So let's say you're in a challenging situation and you've got no one to turn to in the moment and you're really unsure how to move forward. Okay. Like I just got in a big argument with XYZ, or I'm working on this project and I'm at a wall. I can't get past this wall. I feel really stuck. What we could do is we can go inside, and I'm going to always recommend you talk. We can talk to our chakras. That's the essence of what I'm trying to communicate. We can begin to develop a conversation with, a relationship with, we can dialogue with our chakras, each of them. And the better you get at knowing the system, depending on the situation, you can be like, okay, I want to talk to this chakra, right? I know it sounds pretty woo, and it definitely is. However, it's just an anchor. It's a place for you to put your it's how you can put your awareness onto something specific. So let's say with the project situation, right? I'm working on a project. I'm hitting a wall. We can look at, because the solar plexus activity is doing, it's here that we create transformation through directing our will onto our personal power, right? So we could be like, go inside, right? Close my eyes. I'm just going to do an experiment with you. Solar plexus chakra, the place that I connect to my personal power. The element here is fire. You help me transform. You help me create new things through energy, through heat. I'm really brushing up against a lot of resistance. I'm hitting a wall. I feel really stuck, like I can't take aligned action, and any action I take is not gaining traction. And so then I'm, dipping into feelings of not feeling worthy, like I'm not delivering on this project to my best capability. Like, where am I getting stuck? Can you talk to me? Is there anything that you can communicate to me? Right. So you could say all this out loud, but you could also say it, inside your head. Because let's say you're in a public setting, you can just kind of go within and have this full on conversation with your energetic system, and no one needs to know. And then listen, right? Don't keep talking, don't keep communicating, pose the question, pose the current situation or challenge, and then listen. What is the chakra or the energetic center within saying back to you, right? And it's always really interesting what comes up. And when you're working with relationships, right, that's absolutely a time to look at the heart chakra. When you're feeling stuck or brushing up your inability to communicate effectively or speak with authenticity, throat chakra. If you're feeling like you're really cut off from your emotions, or your emotions are taking you on a roller coaster ride and you're unable to find like your balancing point, or like you're having a lot of hard time receiving pleasure or play or intimacy or having fun, you're really stuck on a certain expectation or outcome, that's talking to your sacral chakra. If you're feeling like, okay, my roots are really disconnected, I'm not feeling safe or supported, my physical health is waning, my diet is absolutely terrible, I'm not feeding myself nutritious food, I'm not moving my body, I'm in pain, like anything more physical, talk to your root chakra, yeah? Like you can really start to develop this dialogue and this cool internal relationship with each of them. So to recap the pillars here at the vissudha throat chakra, using sound as a purifying tool, right? So being able to purify through sound. Second pillar, resonance, the ability to relate to one another. Third pillar, self-expression and creation through communication. The fourth pillar, listening. Which one of these resonates with you? Which of these four pillars are you like, oh man, I really got to work on them? Again, the first pillar is using sound as a purifying tool. The second pillar, resonance. The third pillar, self-expression and creation. And the fourth pillar, listening. So tell me in the chat box which one you're like, yeah, that's me all day. Okay, so Queen Sil B, you said, I can see myself doing this while I meditate. Yeah, it's a really great meditation tool to do that dialoguing with your chakra. And if you've done that Cleanse Your Chakra YouTube class, you could start to practice it one by one. So pausing the video and just doing one of them at a time, and then going inside and posing a question or a situation to that energetic center, and then just really stream of consciousness immediately write in a journal what you hear. Like, don't judge it, don't censor it, don't pause it, just write immediately what comes up for you. Let's see. Kelly, you said you're doing this tomorrow before your work meeting. Yeah, girl, you need to. Please do it. Helen, number 2, so resonance. Kirsten, 3, you want to work on feeling okay with expressing yourself. Deshawn, I love that the heart and throat are so connected. It makes so much sense from a human nature perspective. We are wired as humans for connection, and communication is key for connection. I couldn't have said it better myself. Let's see. Meditation, Deborah, that's what you said. Carrie, 3 for sure right now, which is self-expression and creation. Absolutely, especially you being a yoga teacher and just certified. Let's see. Boko, self-expression and purification. Shannon, listening. Deidre, resonance. Yeah. For me, I would say right now it would be purification. So kind of moving out any stuck energy through sound, but also listening. Definitely listening too. So for me, purification and listening are definitely where I'm at, which is the 1 and the 4. All right. So heart chakra suggested practices. Stick with me. We're going to move a little bit faster. Number 1, make it a habit to tell yourself, I love you every single day. Just wake up and say it. Every time you look in the mirror, I love you, I love you, I love you. Start doing it. At the end of the day, you can reflect on, what did I love about today? What brought me joy, right? Just like how it's a huge practice to write what you're grateful for each morning. At the end of the day, could you write 3 things you loved about your day? 3 things that brought you joy. Also do heart and chest-centered yoga practices, both powerful and restorative. Powerful would be back bending classes or back strengthening classes. Restorative, all day, fish pose, puppy pose, all sorts of beautiful restorative postures to open the chest here. Breath of joy is wonderful. Nadi Shodhana is also wonderful to balance out the body. Remember, the heart chakra is the bridge, the integrator, the connector. It is the balance point or the midpoint of the chakra system. So anything that brings equanimity or harmony to your energetic system is helpful for the heart chakra. Nadi Shodhana is a balancing breath technique, which is why it's a suggested practice. Also, work on your relationships. Don't settle for mediocrity. So I know many people are challenged here, especially in partnerships and friendships, right? Like some of my friendships are pretty mediocre because I'm not putting enough time and effort into communicating, right? Heart and communication. There we go again. Connection and communication into prioritizing solid phone calls, right? Like moving past the text, past the email, and getting on the phone with one another. And then lastly, the last suggested practice is to be a part of a community that connects you with like-hearted individuals. So Kelly said in the comments how much she loves the Body, Mind, Soul Studio. So do I. And then seeing everyone that shows up at our retreats, I am always reminded that being in community is so important, especially if you don't have it in your immediate community right outside your door. Finding people you can connect with and that feel like they get you. Okay. Let's see here. Throat chakra suggested practices. Singing, chanting, using the Bija chakra mantras. I've already said that. Yoga poses that open the throat. Restorative fish pose is really nice here. Also puppy pose again too. Practice writing to refine what you want to say. So before, of course, like I have a whole note thing that I'm looking off of right now. So if you know that you have something important to say to a family member, a partner, in a work meeting, on a live call like this, write out what you want to say. It's going to help refine your message and make it more clear and resonate, right? Begin to share your story and know that your story is worthy. So if you've been unable to share your story, remember everyone's story has a purpose, it has a meaning. There is absolutely a reason why it's your story and someone else is going to connect with it. Who can you tell it to? Right? Who can you share it with? And that goes back to developing that community of like-hearted individuals so that you can lean on them and share. Lastly, begin to express yourself somehow, some way. So give yourself permission to create. It is through expression and creation that we develop this energetic center. And it's also how we bring our dreams further down to the earth plane when we're working with the manifestation current. So, like, if I didn't, someone in the closing circle at our retreat said such a beautiful thing. She said, if Allie would have quit along the way, none of us would have been here, because we talked about how dreams, creating and achieving them, can take years. And that's where I'm at. I'm at the 7-year mark in this community, building the Journey Junkie. And it was really like, yeah, if I would have quit, like all 30 of these people wouldn't be here connecting and now creating their dreams. So giving yourself permission to create and express yourself is super important. Let's move to Heart Chakra mantras, and we're almost done. So number 1, and these are also in the description below, I love and accept myself. Number 2, my relationships matter. Number 3, I choose to stay open. Number 4, my heart's desires are valid. So those are your Heart Chakra mantras. Throat Chakra mantras, I speak with clarity. My story matters. I express myself freely. I live authentically. Okay, so those are your 4 throat chakra mantras. And then lastly, to end our experience here together today, let's do some breathing, some visualization, a little short guided meditation. Please don't sign off right now. Stick around. I find this is the best way to bring it back home and integrate all of this talking, right? So wherever you are, please sit up nice and tall, roots down, crown high. If you feel safe to do so, close your eyes and bring your hands to rest over your heart at the Anahata Chakra. And now establish this breath pattern with me. Inhale through the back of your heart. Exhale out the front of your heart. Inhale through the back of your heart. Exhale out the front of your heart. Using your inhale to strengthen the back of your heart and your exhale to soften the front of your heart. Inhale to strengthen. Exhale to soften. With each complete breath that you take, imagine that perfection, proving, pleasing, performing, and pretending are being released, allowing your heart to receive the support it needs so you can love and accept yourself wholly and completely. And in turn, love and accept others in their totality. Again, you're inhaling through the back of the heart, exhaling out of the front. You're inhaling to strengthen the back. You're exhaling to soften the front. Inhaling to strengthen, exhaling to soften. And with hands at the heart, take 7 more breaths here. And now bring your hands to gently clasp around your throat chakra. So right around the throat region, around your neck. And begin to chant the throat chakra Bija mantra aloud with me if you feel safe to do so. Hum, 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 hum. Keep going, keep chanting. You can continue out loud or inside. And imagine that the vibration you're creating is clearing and untangling the energetic knots you've accumulated from not speaking and living your truth all of these years. Keep chanting aloud or within. Hum, hum, hum. Using your voice as a vibratory instrument to release pain and create change. Hum, 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 hum. And now release the mantra. Keep the hands gently clasping around the throat. Take 7 more breaths here. And you can release your hands from your throat. Finally, please repeat after me. Om Namo Anahata. This is my right to love and be loved. Om Namo Vissudha. This is my right to speak and be heard. Very lastly and finally, if your eyes are closed, you can open them up. Let's end this conversation. If you were living your truth, what would you do right now? If you were living with an open heart and living your truth, what would you do right now? What would you do with a new year beginning and a new decade starting? What would you do? What would feel most authentic? And there's about 67 of us on here. I would love to see that many comments. Remember, participating and communicating through this chat box is a wonderful way to develop these energetic centers. So, what would you do if you were living your truth and living with an open heart? What would you create? What would you speak? What would you communicate as we travel into a new year and a new decade? Deshawn, you are so welcome. Mary, you would change careers and do something meaningful. Tammy, exactly what you're doing. That is awesome. You would continue to learn and grow. Doe, you don't know. Okay, well, guess what? In January, we're going to do that together. So don't fear. I'm going to walk you through that process. Carrie, go back to bed with my husband and have a lighter heart. That is so cute. I love that. Let's see. Maureen, keep on doing art. Okay, I know there's more of you on here. What would you do if you were living your truth? Expand my activism, take my family off the grid and live a fruitful, beautiful, fulfilling life. Helen, you can do that. Meet me on the water on a sailboat. Living solely off the earth and with it. That's what Kaylee said. And establishing my own business. Kirsten, fully concentrate my YTT and start teaching. Kelly, find more meaningful friendships and connections. Kelly, let go and forgive myself. Queen, I would work on manifesting my dream, learning to cultivate the love I deserve and speak the truth for what I want to accomplish. Leslie, ditch negative people. Kirsten, expand my side hustle. Amy, if you're still on here, I want to see your dream too, even though you told me Mexico. Kirsten, live by the sea. Deshawn, face more of my fears to break down my self-made barriers. Let's see here, Laura, keep learning and growing. Sarah, I would sing more and share my feelings. These are so great, so great. Search for what my truth actually is. Yeah, right? Follow my dreams, not be afraid all the time. Yeah. Okay, so that wraps up our heart and throat chakra. Remember, if you want to combine this work with your yoga practice, with an incredible vacation, with meeting our community in person, which is so incredible, we've got 2 spots left at the upcoming chakra yoga retreat in Costa Rica. So don't forget about that if you're interested. Link is in the description below. Also in the description below are heart chakra and throat chakra classes and both of those sets of mantras that I said here. And next week we're coming back. I'll be in Florida then, and we'll be meeting to talk about the third eye chakra. So our second to last conversation of the year. But let's see, there's really a lot more great comments coming in. Deborah, find sisterhood, travel, and release shame. Let's see, Tammy, how much you rely on me. Oh, I rely on you too, though, right? It's like a full circle experience. So absolutely. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me. We'll be back here next week, Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments, or you guys know where to find me. Yeah. Have a wonderful week ahead. Stay open, stay open, stay open. Use your breath as a tool to stay open and communicate. Communicate. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being here and taking time to be here with me and our community. I'll see you next week.